Regardless of me being the only person with a college degree on my team, I was still questioned about how intelligent and how impactful I could be for the project I was asking to be a part of.
Interesting. You have to literally prepare the table.
Before
You have to,
yeah.
Knowing that he's the one that prepares the table before us, but you have to own the table. Like, pull up the seat and know that you're called to that table for a reason.
Absolutely, yeah.
When you are a first gen, you get to go back home, see the village, and see where your parents came from, and know in your mind, I didn't come here and get this blue passport to be jumping.
Higi haga.
To be doing
Higi haga.
Skata, skata.
Skata, skata. I just wish in my life that I can reflect the impact and the importance that my parents have had in my life and the people that they also touch.
See you, yeah.
I want my parents to make sure that my parents are proud of me. I was like, I'm gonna buy a house today.
It's only crazy till it happens, though. You gonna pick up and go where
the better opportunities are.
The better opportunity is. Celebrate your milestone moments. Want to incorporate your milestone moments. Ensuring that regardless of what season of life I'm in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find the time if I can to give you your flowers and be present. When
you are blessed with the gift that you ask God, we tend to not take account for what those things that you did to lead into that blessing and how you were shaped into receiving that blessing.
Hello and welcome to the Empowered Era podcast, brought to you by the Elizabethan Era. I'm your host, Elizabeth or Lizzie, and today I have a very special guest, none other than Miss Chiderah. How are you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm super excited to have you on.
I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
You're like a breath of fresh air.
Thank you. I try to be.
Just see you smiling.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Now, if you don't know Chiderah, let me introduce Chiderah and who she is. She's not only just my friend, but she is a source of inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
She not only is a homeowner of one property, but two?
A couple.
She's diving into new business ventures. She just acquired a new job. She's essentially walking in her light. And I feel like you guys are going to take a lot out of this episode. Y'all are going to take a lot out of just hearing her speak. I know that in our conversations, I'd be like, dang, if there was a fly on the wall, I'd want to be that fly.
So
let's chat to the people. First, let's just talk about the fact that, my girl got more than 2 homes.
Yeah.
How did we get there? It's 2024. How did we get there?
Honestly, life is very funny. I think that coming out of college, I had my, I'm gonna be outside. I'm gonna hop and jump, especially I'm new to Dallas. I'm from Austin.
You say you're gonna be hot and jump?
I'm a jump. When I came to Dallas, I was gonna hopscotch, okay? And I was. Yeah. And you would see me in my earlier years. I think it came to a point where I understood that where I was in my career was no longer comfortable for what I wanted in my lifestyle. Yeah. And it wasn't conducive. And I would ask, I worked for one of the biggest aeronautic companies in the world, really. And I was asking for new opportunities. And, being the young Black girl on the team, of a lot more tenured people, you don't really get the opportunity because people will question your intelligence. Regardless of me being the only person with a college degree on my team, I was still questioned about how intelligent and how impactful I could be for the project I was asking to be a part of.
Interesting.
It came to a point where one of my cousins had reached out to me and she was telling me about opportunities she had and she was telling me about the scope of work she was doing. And I was like, well, I have a whole engineering degree. I should be able to do that as well. And it took a lot of prying. It took a lot of forcing myself onto people because a lot of times being Black, being African, if you don't make room for yourself, no one's gonna make room for you.
You have to literally prepare the table.
Before you.
You have to, knowing that he's the one that prepares the table before us, but you have to own the table. Pull up the seat and know that you're called to that table for a reason.
Absolutely. And I think that was the first time where my faith with God was under the microscope. Because my parents made sure that in our lives we didn't struggle as much. Even though we're immigrants, I struggle. Our parents will definitely tell us about their struggles.
Oh yeah.
And
we carried water on our head and walked
3 miles to school hot water.
Thank you.
You know, I didn't really know what hot water felt like until the 7th.
No,
you know,
the stories.
The stories.
But those stories, I feel like, essentially molded us because I think there is so much power in that dichotomy of being first gen.
Yeah.
When you are a first gen, you get to go back home, see the village, and see where your parents came from, and know in your mind, I didn't come here and get this blue passport to be jumping.
Higgy haga.
To be doing
higgy haga.
Skata, skata.
Skata, skata. And for me, I was born in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that.
Ooh.
I think I don't sound like the typical, you know,
when they meet you, they say Americana.
Yeah, American girl, you know? Or they call me, oh, your name is Chiderah?
No, wait, stop.
Your name is Chiderah?
How old were you when you came here, Shakira?
6 years old, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, and my parents made sure that we would go back frequently.
Yeah.
So I'm not disconnected from knowing where I came from.
A very cultured Igbo babe.
Very cultured. I understand, and I think my family has been the driving force for everything I do. If you know me in person, I talk about my family, my mom. You know, I shout my mom every time I can.
Oh,
mom
shout out to
Miss Elsie. Okay. Miss Elsie's always want to talk her stuff. Okay,
yeah,
you see my mama?
That's a hot girl.
That's a hot girl for real.
The original.
And she gonna work. One thing's for sure, my mom's gonna work. And in my field and like being uncomfortable, my mother has definitely shown me, she's carried our family on her back. There was time periods where I didn't even know that my mom was working and she was the sole proprietor, and especially when my dad was in school. And my parents are not just an example of like going through that adversity as a team, married, but also having each other's back to cover anything that's going on, from even your own children, to protect your children, protect your family. And as I came out, and I was my first job at Lockheed, and really sitting there, I was just like, wow, like I have never faced adversity, because I didn't fully understand it, because I had such a blessing of parents who really covered me and shielded me. And that was my first time actually facing the adversity of like real life, like bills, and understanding to balance a checkbook, and understanding like my car note is due. Actually, my car note is actually due, and insurance. And it got to a point where I was just so uncomfortable with my finances, and my cousin had called me, and that was my first time.
How old were you at this point when your cousin called you?
I think this was, I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was telling me about the new venture she was in. And she was just like, you can do it too, but it takes a lot of studying, it takes a lot of work. And I was like, I'm an engineer, I can do it. You know, I went through engineering school with like 4 Black women. So if I can get through it, I can get through anything. But I recognized that if I didn't make a covenant with God, nothing I was trying to do was actually formidable. Because I realized this is bigger than me. This is something that I have never touched into. I was not a developer. I barely saw software, MATLAB. I was comfortable with it, but I wasn't in love with it.
So how did that make you feel in those moments?
Oh, what? It was very demeaning. I'm not gonna lie. I felt small. Because I was talking to people now who had a lot more education than me. I was entering a whole nother field, a whole nother battlefield that I've never seen in my life. So I wasn't just self-taught, I was actually at work trying to ask people to entrust me with something I don't even trust myself, honestly.
It's the saying, like, fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
And you gotta be your biggest cheerleader. If you don't believe, if you are like a walking product and you don't believe in your product, why is anybody else gonna pay, buy in, invest in you?
Absolutely. And
I'm not taking a chance on you.
No. And it was one of my bosses. Love him. Me and him are still Facebook friends.
Oh,
I had told them that Facebook friends, you know, you still gotta keep your connections. You know? And he had told me, he asked me when I was studying, like trying to get into more of this work. He was like, what are you looking for? And like salary wise, I was like, I want a 6-figure job, baby. And he was just like, you're only 22. You don't deserve a 6-figure job. I said, and my God will cast and bind you.
No,
you know?
And my God will do his doing.
His big one.
His biggest.
And I said, thank you.
Because
when I get it, I'm gonna be you're the first one I know to mention what my salary looks like. I'm gonna make sure and that's what I did. I printed that thing out and left it on his desk the day I left. Because I wanted him to know that just because you had told me I can't, I'll show you I will. And so I studied, it was a big time. I talked to God and I said, because I know that you have really walked me through life. I know you will not just show me, but she would show me in a way that I can't even comprehend.
Come on.
And I took like 75 interviews. I was studying day in, day out. I had like 2 hours sleeping interviews most days. And it was December, because I told God I wanted this new job by the end of the year. It was from, I think, October to December, of where I was really just in grind, straight grind, no sleep. You can ask all my best friends, all my closest friends. You were there. And if you called me, I was on my computer. If you asked me where I was at home. I was studying, I was prepping.
And one thing I'll say is you've always made it a point, in the midst of all the things you're doing, Chiderah's annual holiday party.
Okay.
Annual this. There's always going to be the, how do I say it? The homemaker, the welcomer, the person that builds community in you, regardless of your circumstance, that's showing up and expressing that, like, hey, I'm a giver, I'm a doer, and I'm going to give unto others, even if I'm lacking.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm low on sleep, I'm still giving as if I'm charged up. So I feel like that's always been who you've been. And that has been a consistent thing that you've demonstrated.
Thank you. That's because of my mom. If you know my mother is a way maker, a mover, a shaker. She's the type of person that there's sometimes when my mom has done things for me that I myself can't even fathom. Yeah. Because it's like, you work overnight. You work 12-hour shifts. Sometimes, like growing up, I think there was one summer I saw my mom maybe once in the month of like June. Because my mother would have 24-hour shifts where she was coming in and out of the house. And I didn't realize that she was covering, helping my dad. And my father came from Nigeria, was working hard, and we didn't even realize it. My dad is like my light, my everything. My parents, my mother is my love. My mama is my twin,
I love
for
that.
real. And I think that I just wish in my life that I can reflect the impact and the importance that my parents have had in my life and the people that they also
when
touch.
They see you,
I want my parents to make sure that my parents are proud of me. And so when it comes to like my friends are my family. I treat you guys like my sisters, my brothers. You guys all know my sisters, my brothers. And I think that as we've gotten older, we kind of removed the importance of really pouring back in to the people who pour into you. And my parties, my get-togethers, whatever, is I don't always have time to talk, but when I make time, I want to make sure that you know that you are loved. That you are cherished, that I see you. I may not always say something, but I do see my friends. And I recognize that I try to spend independent moments of importance with you guys.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you. But I think that in my, like that 6 months, 7 months of me just straight grinding, it was a random December. I was on the phone with my friend talking about a house, because in this period of time, I was like, if I'm gonna make 100,000, whatever thousand, I need to go ahead and move out of here. And my lease was up, and I was like, let me go look at houses randomly. I was like, I'm gonna buy a house today. I'm a very crazy thinker, I guess you could say.
It's only crazy till it happens, though.
Yeah, I never think that anything that's in my brain is big. I think it's just something that God has placed in my heart that I need to go accomplish. So when I came to those houses, I was looking at houses in Weathersford that I was doing cartwheels in the closet. Homes that I would qualify for, but the money would not qualify me. You know what I mean?
No. Say that one again, because
the credits will qualify me, but the money will not qualify me.
I feel like we have such similarities, and I feel like that's why we do vibe so well as friends. We can take this any direction. From us meeting at Victory Hall at UNT,
Victory Hall,
like from us meeting in undergrad freshman year to you being like, hey, UNT's been cool, I'm going to Texas Tech. And that's one thing about you. You gonna pick up and go where
the better opportunities are.
The better opportunity is. And then also just pivoting into the mindset of like, you may qualify for something, but you're sitting there like, I don't know. Because there was that season where I was like, girl, should I get the house? Like, should I do this? I'm looking at houses, I'm putting a down payment. I'm like, what? And I think that even just remembering your first housewarming in Fort Worth. I remember it was like days before it. That was when I was in my season of like, okay, what y'all see today, the Empowered Era podcast, this whole thing of like, it's a podcast today, it's a clothing line yesterday. 2 days ago, it was an annual event. And then from a previous time, it was this, that, or the third. It was a photo shoot concept. A photo shoot concept turned into a t-shirt, turned into you being like, oh, I'm gonna wear your shirt at my housewarming.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's love. Like having friends that celebrate your milestone moments, want to incorporate your milestone moments, ensuring that regardless of what season of life I'm in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find the time if I can to give you your flowers and be present. Showing up and being there for you, like just seeing you grow in your essence of who you are. And we know that there's always constant evolution and this is not final product.
No.
But it's beautiful to see the Chiderah from college, to the Chiderah from the housewarming, to the Chiderah now today, to the Chiderah who just turned 28, looking great.
Thank you.
It's like different seasons of life, and you are the wise counsel friend I feel like I can call on if I'm dealing with something and I'm like, hey, like I just need a little sharper perspective in terms of discernment.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can do this, you call, I call, you call, I call. Like that's what iron sharpens iron is about.
Iron sharpens iron. And you don't understand, like in my period of time, when I'm really in my bag, I really do seek my friends to really correct me. One of the biggest things I would definitely tell anybody is that I would say that even with my walk with Christ, even with my accomplishments, even in that period of like really grinding, and it was December 3rd, I got a call from a recruiter that gave me the job, and it was a voicemail. And I missed the voicemail, and it was my friend that's like, my phone kept on popping up. You have a voicemail. I said, who's this random number?
Who is giving you a voicemail?
And I listened to the voicemail, and they're like, we'd like to offer you the job. And it was December 3rd. You know, I asked God for this before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the way I jumped and I hollered, and I say that now is that through that time period, I was very accountable for myself. And I realized that when I got through that blessing, I lost my accountability.
What do you mean by that?
I think that me as a person, when you are blessed with the gift that you ask God, we tend to not take account for what those things that you did to lead into that blessing and how you were shaped into receiving that blessing. And it wasn't until recently, like giving my life back to Christ and really like being in search for that fulfillment with God outside of just wanting something from him, but actually wanting that relationship with him, is that I realized that the accountability I had for myself in my grind season, when I really was starting out before anything big happened for me, is the same accountability I need to have in every season, in every walk, in every path, and relationships and friendships and partnerships and just work. And I realized that because now I'm accountable for my faith, I'm more accountable for my everything.
Cheers.
Cheers!
Cheers to that.
Clink, 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 clink.
Quang, quang, quang.
Quang, 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 quang.
Tell me a little bit more about your current walk with Christ and what was the pivotal moment that opened your eyes to say, because we all have a moment where we're like, I need to give my life to Christ, or I need to rededicate my life to Christ, or I've been knowing that man. Me and him like this.
We like this, but we're not like this.
After a while, it was going kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I need us to get back to this.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
I think that last year was a really good year for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Last year was a good year in a sense of like economically and provision, you know. And I was able to do a lot like for my family and even for myself. But I was very naive. I kind of like self-absorbed. Okay. Not outwardly, but inwardly I was very self-absorbed. I think that I had a constant fight with myself of like, why am I not consistent? Why am I not happy? Like truly happy? Yeah. I think that I spent a lot of time like hyper focusing on like wealth and building and acquiring, to where I kind of lost the importance of it, and like the importance in the sense of why do I want this? And who is providing this for me? Because it really wasn't me.
Yep.
Half the things I haven't touched now, I'm just like,
God's favor.
God's favor. Mm-hmm. God's favor. And it came like
He's
the end of the
putting us
year.
in rooms we're on paper not qualified for.
Oh, absolutely. Even right now, off the call, I'm just like, wow, I'm the only Black woman in a room full of 40 white men. Mm-hmm. And I still hold my stance.
And it's not even just the color. It's the age. It's the tenure. Like,
I'm the youngest person in the group of
being in those
men.
rooms, I've faced that, and we've talked about it. That imposter syndrome will creep up on you. You
Absolutely.
know who you are and who you're qualified to be.
Absolutely.
But when you get to a senior position and you have senior behind your name, everyone's questioning you.
You're really talking to seniors.
Everyone's asking you, like, are you sure you're a senior?
Yeah.
Are you sure this?
Yeah.
Are you sure that?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you have to spearhead and lead the projects. But you're closer in age to their kids than
we are their kids.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's been the interesting aspect of like really trying to walk in your calling purpose, but beyond walking in your calling and purpose, walking in your skill set, your natural skill set, and not allowing the voice of the enemy or the voice of others who may be curious, but they don't realize that they're undermining you. And if you allow that to feed your mind, you will be undermining yourself instead of really walking like, no, I'm supposed to be here. I may not know it today, but I'm going to know it tomorrow. I'm qualified to be at this table.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why I'm present.
Absolutely.
And even if I'm the only person that looks like me, whether it's age, generation, color, gender, that just means that there is a perspective that's lacked. There's a perspective that's missing, and I'm supposed to represent all of those voices in that room.
Absolutely. And I think that we as Christians or just followers of Christ in general, we have to realize that every adversity, every person speaking down on you, every person speaking ill of you, this is a spiritual thing. It is not in the physical realm. You only get hit physically with the words, but you're actually being attacked spiritually inside yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get that discomfort. Get that, I don't know what's going on. Because even last year, I've never been the type of person to speak of depression, type of person to speak of anxiety. And if you looked at my life, you'd be like, oh, you have so much.
You have so much.
Why would you be depressed? Why would you be sad? Why would you be upsetting? You would have so much, even actors. And we see all these actors and stuff in depression and killing themselves or whatever, God forbid. But
because you're not fulfilled internally.
I'm not fulfilled. And
there's only one person that can give you that validation.
And that's the thing. The end of the year, like New Year's Day, I remember that was my first New Year's, like spending it by myself. I was in my apartment and I had just gotten my dog. I came home. My parents were working New Year's Day, so I came back to Dallas from Austin. Yeah. And I cried, Lizzie. When I tell you I cried, it was my first time praying in an authentic prayer. Like praying to God, not for healing, but just to be with me. Yeah. Just so I can feel him again. Yeah. Because it got to a point where I was doing things, I was just so combative. Yeah. I was so angry. Ooh. I was so, and in my relationships and these things I was just so unfulfilled. Talk about it. And I didn't realize that I have allowed myself to idolize things that I myself didn't even realize I was idolizing. I myself didn't even realize I was pouring into. I want you to know
you're not alone because I've been there. I've been there. It's like you're building yourself in good faith. And you don't realize, like, when people are like, I'm not a product of my environment.
No, you are.
I'm a self-made person.
No,
you're not self-made.
No, you are.
You are a product of your environment, whether you want to believe it or not. You're a product of the 5 people that you're around. You're a product of what you unconsciously consume.
And what you're consuming. And consciously and unconsciously, baby.
Consciously and unconsciously, like, you have to be that cognizant, because back to your point, there are things operating in the spirit that if you don't see it, you're... I just feel this. No, that's the spirit.
That's your spiritual realm,
and it's either going to be the spirit that's coming from God or the spirit that's coming from another source. So you have to make sure you're so tapped in, because there's so much going on in this world.
No, there is. When I tell you that day, I felt as though when I slept, I woke up anew in a sense, because I was because there was people in my life at the time where I was just like, they would tell me like, you don't have a lot of discernment, or these people aren't good for you. And I just wouldn't believe it. Cause I was just like, I would know.
Yeah.
I'm self-made.
Yeah.
And the spirit of pride.
Yeah.
Pride. The spirit of pride. I think that we all work so hard to be like, you know, I'm a millionaire. I got the Benz. I got the house. I got the equity. And we don't realize that that's really how the devil is coming to clinch you and to steal those things. To steal those things from you, because now you're idolizing what he wants you to.
Yeah.
Now you're making that a character trait. Your character trait is have a Benz.
Now your personality is becoming...
Personality is Benz. Yeah. Personality is house. Personality is car. Personality is Chanel. Give it a break.
Not the personality.
Give it a break.
No.
Personality is Chanel. Give it a break, baby. Calm down. Pipe down. That's what they say. Yeah. Pipe down.
Pipe down.
And I think that in that season, I was being held accountable, but because I wasn't accountable for my own faith and myself, I was so reactionary. And I would push and prod, and I'd be like, but I do this, so it should validate what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Because I did this,
I'm deserving of this.
I'm deserving of it.
And but
accountability doesn't exist with pride, baby. Especially true accountability.
Yeah.
Especially true wanting to grow in your spirit. You can't be prideful and come to God.
I want you to know
those things.
There is so much growth in you that I see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you your flowers on that.
Thank you.
There's so much growth in you that I see, because I've seen the evolution of you.
Oh, thank you.
So what you're describing, I've seen that side of you.
Yeah.
And this is your true form. This is a beautiful side of you that's coming out that realizes that at the end of the day, it is still that 6-year-old in Nigeria that you're trying to make proud.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you
girl,
it's not the girl from college or the girl from Austin or the girl from this job or the girl from this home, this owner, this business venture. Like, yes, we will introduce you with your accolades, but the accolades don't make you who God has already ordained you to be. Before you were even formed in your mother's womb, God knew who you were going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the person at the end of the day that we're trying to make proud, like our younger version of ourselves. And there's always that thought process of like, when we were that age, we were very naive, very gullible. We were very impressionable, and we were impressed by everything and everything. We were so impressed, but also that concept of being impressed was like, we can make fun out of anything. Now that we became adults, it's like, oh wait, like there's not enough time for you to just sit and play like how we did before. But sometimes you do have to, as you're striving, tap into the inner child, the inner curious mind, in the inner spirit in you that wasn't jaded by what society is telling you. As a young child, you're not thinking, when I grow up, I want to be a Black woman in a field that was not created for me and own this and have this and provide for this. That's not what you're thinking. You're thinking, I want to XYZ.
Yeah.
And now as you're growing into this, you have to be cognizant of the fact that I said I wanted this for myself, but society is also imposing this on me. So let me take it back to him.
Absolutely.
And see what he really wants from me.
Absolutely. And I think that when you make that comment about really fulfilling that 6-year-old girl in Nigeria, I think that as I've gotten older, this is for a lot of people, we have a tendency to absorb the expectations of people outside of ourselves. And we don't realize how that can take permission into our lives if it means like having those friends that you want to help all the time, but those people are actually taking from you and are leeches.
Hey!
Or even, no, God. They're looking at the floor like, child, cockroach. No. You want to stomp them out. But as I gotten older, even the African aunties, you go to one auntie, I don't remember this one auntie. Every time I come to the house, Chiderah, you got them fat girl. Is your pontiff bigger than last time? Why don't you go clock your husband? Let's not start this because I'm delivered.
No, and the thing is, if we were not taught to respect your elders, and your elders are right.
The way that my mouth will be sharp.
If someone is saying, you're getting big, you'll say, yeah, my parents are feeding me well. I'm being taken care of. Aren't you happy I'm not malnourished?
Okay.
Let's stay on the topic of discernment with the people you surround yourself with or the people that you call your friends.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
You have to have a level of discernment that supersedes your flesh, that enters into your spirit. And that really does come from understanding God and really having that relationship where he talks back. I'm telling you, like, that day before New Year's, really entering into the new year, I felt as though I started to have urges from God to start doing things and saying things that I myself would never even think of doing. When it comes to like apologizing to people, when it comes to really like bending myself down and be like, let me have a conversation with you because I need to apologize to you.
Yeah.
Let me have a conversation. So let me sit down and take the time to say, I am sorry for taking from you something I didn't even know I was taking, or to even have the time to understand that God is asking me to separate. God is asking you to leave. And I'm telling you, in this season, when you really give your life back to Christ, your discernment for things becomes supernatural.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to conversations that you probably aren't even going to have, it's still going to supersede anything that you of your flesh that thinks that it's supposed to go through. So when it comes to men, when it comes to relationships with your parents, when it comes to understanding relationships with your siblings, you don't understand having that level of discernment when it comes to the people that really are influencing your life or even trying to enter your life and influence it. You have to have the highest guard. And I was someone who was sharp. And I was someone who's like, I would do that to someone, so why would I do that to me? My discernment was in the ground. You hell, baby. And I say that because, again, I was relying on my own pride, my own knowledge. I thought that I'm a software developer. I know everything, baby. You know, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
So my knowledge superseded God at that point.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I was idolizing my job. I was idolizing my position. I wasn't even able to like really understand like when you're in a spirit of trying to move into marriage or even trying to prepare yourself for marriage, or in the season of preparation, it requires a level of pride where you now understand that your man is above you in a sense, like you are now the neck. You're not the head, baby. You are the neck.
The rib.
The rib. And I think that my level of discernment was so low that I didn't realize where I was supposed to be positioned, especially with God trying to prepare me into entering a season of anything.
Yeah.
And entering a season of wanting to be married, children. And when I gave my life back to Christ, it became very self-aware of me of like, wow, my relationships with my friends, my relationships with my family need to change.
Yeah.
Because I am even infiltrating the spirits that I'm even talking against. I would talk to you multiple times about, oh, don't be a hater. They're haters. Don't be this. Don't talk about this. Don't do this. Don't idolize this. And me, myself, I was doing it. I wasn't doing it in a way that was open.
Yeah.
I was even doing it in the worst way, where I was convincing myself I wasn't living in sin. Because my own discernment was so low for myself, because I didn't want to look at God and ask for that accountability.
Now the thing is, there's always a time in our life where we believe that our voice holds and carries that much weight. And we're not allowing for others to pour into us and to kind of shift our perspective or
correct us.
To correct us, to give us that constructive criticism that's going to better us in the end.
Yeah.
And I've been in seasons where I know this is my SWOT analysis, strength, but I also know in my quiet moments and in my closet is my weakness. And the reason I say quiet moments and closet, nobody broadcasts their weakness like that.
Absolutely not.
Everybody has a weakness. Everybody has something that they could get better at and improve, but nobody broadcasts that. So if I know and I can discern that that's a weakness, I end up getting agitated when somebody's calling it out. Because I'm like, yo, you wasn't supposed to be looking in the closet like that.
Because you do not want to be held accountable.
You weren't supposed to go into the closet.
Yeah.
You were supposed to sit in the living room. Yeah. I told you to sit in the living room. Now you're going to my closet.
I told you not to talk about me because I know me. I know what I do wrong. I know exactly what I need to do better. And the thing is, you don't. And the thing is, you're a liar. you're lying to yourself and you're lying to God.
And you're in denial. And that's the thing.
Denial.
If you're in denial, you literally cannot grow.
No.
So beyond being in denial, when you're seeking, because everyone likes to say that they're seeking wise counsel. What's defined as wise counsel if everybody's lost? And I say everybody's lost because we all don't know exactly who we are destined and ordained to be, and exactly how life is going to play out, and exactly the path that is before us. Only he knows. So if we're all discerning, okay, I think I know it, I think I gain clarity, okay, let me actually go back, okay, he gave me this one. He's only lighting up each step. So if I'm on my journey and I'm on step 20, Chiderah's on her journey and she's on step 23. When I am now pivoting to Chiderah to ask her for guidance, she could only give me her step 23. Her step 23 may not actually answer my step 21 though. So you then have to be cognizant of, okay, my friend said this friend said this friend said this, and I'm trying to get to step 21. The only person I can give you step 21 is him though.
Yeah.
So you got to take everybody's advice with a grain of salt and be like, okay, we're all trying to figure it out. Like nobody just knows step 50 like that. Nobody knows step 50.
No, but the thing is, and I highly encourage people to really grow their relationship with God because like really giving your life back to Christ and wanting to live for Christ.
Yes.
You just talked about step 20 and 21. When you have a relationship with God, like an actual relationship with him, where you can go to him and be like, I was wrong, wasn't I? You don't even really need a lot of counsel when you're in the Spirit.
Say that.
The Spirit has a tendency to already guide you. Because the questions I have for myself is like, I am so good at career jumping. I'm so good at, one thing about me, I'm gonna stay with a job, baby. One thing about me, I'm gonna work hard. If I need to learn something, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But when it came to my relationships, romantically and platonically, I was piss poor. I didn't know how to handle them. I didn't know what was going on. At first, I thought that I'm a strong Black woman. It was my femininity. I thought that it was my lack of compassion, my lack of empathy, my lack of even my own discernment. But I realized it was because I had no relationship with God in that period of time. Not a true one. I knew of him, but I didn't know of him. Personally. You know when you have a cell phone number is kind of, you know the digits when it pops up, you don't know the full number? That's me. And it got to a point where I could no longer be sufficient in the provisions that God had given me because I didn't know how to handle them anymore. Because God was asking me to submit to him and I was running, analyzing, running. And when I gave my life back to Christ, that's when God started to talk to me. And when I tell you he was loud, he was loud. Everything that I would start to pray against, everything that I was looking for confirmation, I would go to church. Today we are talking about you girls who let men in and out of their lives and just taking nonsense. I said, whoa.
No, it gets to a point
you
where
reading
it's
me?
like, you come late to church, you miss the praise and worship.
But you're gonna get that. You're gonna see that message,
come
baby.
Just in
and the
time.
thing is, God is going to, the way that God has been telling me, if I had a question one Saturday, I would wake up, God, why don't I have this? That's Sunday. Some of y'all are asking why you don't have this, and this is why. And it was.
That's how clear it is.
It's very clear.
That's how clear it is.
And sometimes we, as friends, we look to our friends to go ahead and give us revelation. We look to our friends to almost save us. And I think that's why a lot of our friendships struggle. Because you're asking flesh to heal flesh.
Come on.
When it's a spiritual attack.
And
you don't realize it's a spiritual attack because we're all in our, our own struggle, our own walk.
We're all going through it.
But once you build an actual relationship with God and talk to him, really have those intimate moments. And I just got off a fast for my birthday. My first time. This is my first time I'm fasting in my adult life. When I tell you every day,
so much clarity.
Every day God has spoken to me. And it wasn't me listening to your podcast. It wasn't me listening to, B. Simone's ex,
Megan.
Megan's podcast.
Did you see the episode with Haley Melinda?
Yes, I did. Because when I tell you the spiritual warfare,
because you remember when we were gonna go to London, and I ended up going to London for my friend's wedding, and I was in her quandula. That's Haley.
Yes. When I tell you the spiritual warfare that she was talking about, sleeping, waking up, really seeing things. I remember when I was little, there was this woman's house that no longer is my mom's friend, and I was sleeping on the bottom floor. And I was in sleep paralysis to where I was not in my body.
No, bad.
But I saw spirits.
Yeah.
I saw demons like literally running.
And you literally can't move.
I can't move. But the way I started to, John 3:16, that's the only thing I have tattooed on me, is that's what I was reciting that night. That woman was the same woman that tried to cast, bind, do everything that she could to destroy my family. And when I tell you that
as a kid you saw
I knew. God told me, and I told my mom that night, I said, this is not a good woman. And my mom, if you ask Elsie today, my mom will tell you, like, I know people. And I think that I lost that discernment because I was becoming more of the world. And so now, now I could tell you, I've had such a quick response to, it's not that I don't like you as a person, you just do not fit my spiritual realm.
Come on.
You just do not fit the spiritual circle.
My spirit is disturbed.
My spirit cannot allow you.
Yeah.
My spirit I can't break and bend. And I think that the level of understanding I have now of how the spiritual realm works and what God really wants from me, and even being in this season of preparation. I think a lot of us, especially as Black women.
Let's actually dive into that because we did discuss a
spirit of
preparation. And it's really a shift in perspective.
Yep.
Like what you thought one thing meant, God was actually saying, no, what I meant was this is supposed to prepare you.
Yeah. A lot of times, especially as women, we are in a constant battle with society's expectation of us to be wise, be mothers, be whatever. And we pray, especially African girls. You're about to get married at 24. At 26, you're going to have a husband and 3 children.
Wait, are you
Some of us are still looking for husband.
The prophetic word?
Yes. Some of us are still looking for husband. And the thing is, a lot of times, some of us are still looking. We're still looking high, looking low.
And you found him.
Some of us are looking in Nigeria. Which is fine.
Yo, we are doing Kiki and ha-ha.
Which is fine. And the thing is, a lot of times we're looking, we're searching, we're searching. Anugu. Inquiry. Abia.
Let's go east. Because who's in Lagos?
The silence is killer. The silence is killer.
Back on topic.
30 December is not there.
God is preparing us.
God is preparing us.
God is preparing us.
I think just as African women, Black women in general, we have to remember that when we are praying for something like that, do we have the capabilities to handle the blessing?
You said it.
And even for myself, I can honestly say, like, I was not prepared.
Oh, same. I will openly admit that there was a season of my life where God blessed me beyond my wildest dreams when it came to finances.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I said, there's no way. I grew up in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. My entire life has been, I am spending my Monday through Friday with white people, Asian people, Indian people. That's my daily. Then on weekends, straight Nigerian. Mm-hmm. That's been, as far as ethnicity, growing up, where I split and spend my time. In my head, I said, how are my colleagues that I'm sharing quota with, my father's age, living in those same communities?
Yeah.
And they have a wife and multiple kids, and
college,
they have college funds
and homes
to take care of.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there really trying to wrap my head around, like, okay, God, you put me in this position. Am I the Joseph of my family? Am I, because Joseph was not the oldest.
No.
He was, even towards the end, he was the underdog. He was counted out, but he's the one that had dreams. He's the one that had the coat of many colors. He was the one that was truly favored. And to your point earlier, when we were discussing, in Joseph's case, his brothers were envious of him. But what we'll encounter in life, it may not be family. It may be friends. It may be people that we thought were our kin. Yeah. It may be people that we thought were like, oh, I can trust in you. All of a sudden, there's this, your spirit is revealing that there's envy or there's jealousy behind this divide. The reason we're no longer as cool as I thought, or whatever the case may be. All to take it back to say, I was in a season where God was blessing me in abundance, and I didn't know who I could really turn to figure out how to handle it. In that moment, I started therapy.
Yeah. He wasn't even looking for you to turn to anybody.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He was looking for you to turn to him.
To turn to him.
And because you just were not as prepared to handle it, you have a tendency to feel disrupted.
Yep.
In good things.
Yeah.
In peaceful things.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really it. It's not outside of even marriage. A lot of African women, Black women, we're doing wonderful for our lives. But you have to recognize, am I prepared or is God preparing me? And those are two different journeys to be on.
Two different.
Yeah. Even when God prepares you, how are you handling that blessing? And what are you doing with it? Because a lot of times you can fumble your blessing, but we have a merciful God, and he has a tendency to go ahead and bless it. Because even myself, sometimes there's jobs I turned down that I entered into a season where I didn't even know I was going to keep my current job. And I look back and I was just like, Lord, why did I turn down this job? For him to just come back and be like, well, you need to learn that you cannot handle things by yourself.
Yeah.
And I gave you that understanding of like, now you can't give it to yourself. You can't handle everything. Yep. It's not always, Chiderah, like you're gonna be in control. It's his control. And I think in my season of being preparation, outside of like what we would normally think of preparing for, oh, you need to learn how to be a wife, you need to learn how to be whatever, is my patience. Is my grace. I didn't know that being nice is different from being kind.
Come on.
Learning all those new things, my sister gave birth to my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful nephew, Jonathan. And that was my first time having an example of what real love is.
Yeah.
What real love looks like.
Yeah.
And as someone who is so much prepared and like academically, I think that God has put me in a position where I'm now learning to prepare myself in my heart.
Yep.
Fully.
Yeah.
And it's not a femininity thing. It's not the, like, you need to go and do this as a woman and da-da-da. It's because I need to be open to the actual juxtapositions in life, that you can be hard in your field as an engineer, as a software developer, as finance, but you also be soft. In your home, in your life, with your friends.
Love that.
And I think that being in the season now, I understand the two. I understand that the journey doesn't just exist for one. It coexists and commingles. Because now I treat my friends as they're my children. I understand what love looks like. Love is not just kindness, but it's understanding, it's endearing. But it also gives a sense of grace that magnifies the name of Jesus, that magnifies the kingdom. And love, not just for your friends, but for people you don't even know. People that some of us have beef with, it's even more prevalent for you to show them more love.
Because what did Jesus do?
Because what did Jesus do? And it says, forgive 7 times 77. And I think that as I'm in my season of preparation, it has allowed my heart to weaken in a sense of I'm not hard. I don't want to fight no battles with nobody.
No bad.
I don't want to have no ill feelings, no ill will, because I want to love like God loves me. Ooh. I want someone to see me and reflect on and say, Jesus is with her. Yeah. She's not walking by herself. She's walking with her spirit. She's walking with God.
Speaking of this new love in the way you want to show up and for people to see you and see that God is behind her. God is the reason she has this level of conviction. What would you say is your strategic vision for the remainder of 2024?
I think that I realize that I have a very commanding spirit in my field. And I think that a lot of people are trying to either get into tech, hold on tech jobs, or even trying to grow in their jobs in general. And speaking life into people. I think that a lot of times, you really just need someone to believe in you.
Yeah.
And to give you an honest perception of like, this is where you are, this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I think God is using me in that way to really bless others outside of myself, and not to always think of myself as like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, because I am still a student. I am still in search of him. I am still in thirst for my God.
I love that.
I'm in a constant need for him. And I think God has put in people that need that reassurance, even if it means education through technology and growing in that tech space. God has allowed my voice to be sufficient enough to reflect what he wants you to hear. Even if sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying to you. It's because I'm not the vessel that you're actually listening to. You're listening to the things that God is actually trying to deliver to you. So it may not even be things that I know that you're going through, but I've had moments where I had to call my friends like, God wanted me to tell you something, baby.
God spoke to me. He told me to tell you this.
And even times where we sat on a call and I cried.
Yep.
Because I understand the importance of what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Because it's filling you in some capacity that I can't even see.
Yep.
And just the magnification of his name and being able to hold him in a realm that I don't want to say I'm comfortable with it because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I just know that it serves a purpose beyond me. And I'm just happy that he can use me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, this is the portion of the show where I turn all of my guests into a host because I feel like you guys are the main character of your own story.
Yeah.
So in honor of that, I'm going to give you the cue cards. You get to ask me one question.
Okay, baby.
What question do you have for me?
Okay, girl. My question is, how do you see the things that God has blessed you with? And what is your capacity of using them as an example to go ahead and, what is it called, to reach out to others as an example and to give testimony to him?
Loaded question, great question.
Very loaded, but go ahead.
I'm going to try to break it down.
Yeah.
How do I see, first half,
how do you see the blessings that God has given you? And my second half is, how do you intend to using that as a testimony to God so you can influence others?
Yes, love that. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I feel like God has blessed me in many ways. I feel like God has blessed me in terms of having a wealth of knowledge, being extremely personable, having an authentic and genuine spirit and energy about me, and having the ability to make others feel comfortable off of instinct. I can meet a stranger, and one of my friends recently told me, she was like, Lizzie has never met a stranger. There's no stranger Lizzie has met.
Absolutely not.
Because I can meet someone and it can go from, hi, how are you, to we are literally in the car rapping to a song. Like,
you're Mrs. Worldwide, okay?
Mrs. Worldwide. But I feel like God has the same way. In no form am I comparing myself to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I think there are ways that we are made in his image.
Absolutely.
And the way that Jesus hung out with all of the people.
Absolutely.
He did not say, because I'm holier than thou, I'm only hanging out
with my apostles.
My apostles. And if you're not one of, my people, you're not hanging out with me and you don't have access to me. What he said was, I'm going to all of the spaces and I'm going to hang out with everybody.
Absolutely.
I feel like growing up, I've always felt like I don't like cliques. I don't like groups. I do not like mutualism. And when you're growing up, you're trying to fit in. So you're really trying to identify who are your people. And you're trying to identify why don't you get along with one group and do everything with that one group. And I realized later in life, as difficult as that is, I'm gonna stand 10 toes on the fact that I don't like cliques and there's a reason for it. Amen. God has not called me to click up with one group or to say that this is the one person that I will do life with in terms of a platonic friendship. And I've found joy in the fact that I could say, okay, from high school to college to adulthood, I've been in leadership positions for multiple different organizations.
Yeah.
I have been able to get along with the honors class students, been in the honors class. I've been able to get along with the jocks or the D1 athletes. I've been able to get along with the sorority girls, the super girly girls, the tomboys. I've been able to get along with just all types of people to where I can talk to just any person. So it brings me joy when I bring all of my worlds together. When I start seeing friends from different groups start intermingling, take me out the picture. Y'all go hang out on your own.
Absolutely.
Because me, myself, when it's time for me to do another celebration, I don't want to keep doing warm intro.
Absolutely.
The warm intro is I brought y'all together one time. I need y'all to now form your own memories.
Amen.
And now to the part of the testimony, what are you going to do with that blessing? If the blessing is the fact that God has made me extremely personable and has given me knowledge to tap into multiple spaces, the testimony is whether I'm on a high or I'm on a low, I will still rejoice in his name. Amen. And I will still share my story, not for my glory, but for his glory. Like the scripture I always live by is Matthew 5:16.
Okay.
Let your light shine before men so that they can see your good works and glorify your Father who's in heaven.
Amen.
That's been the scripture from college days in my track locker room all the way to on the sweatshirt for EO and Co.
Okay.
Like on the sleeve to it's in my bio. Limited, baby. Limited. It's in my bio on my socials. Like that is the scripture I will always live by, because when someone sees me, I want them to know, like, among all the things we may see, there's so much depth to her, and the reason she's walking in her light, or the reason she can't give you a play-by-play of how to do it the way she's doing it, is because God has ordered her steps. She can't even tell you how to do it because he's the one that's doing it.
Absolutely.
So that's how I want to continue to use the blessing and share my story. But in turn, like I mentioned earlier, the evolution of what the Empowered Era, brought to you by the Elizabethan Era, what I thought was like a play on words in 2017 when I was a junior in college and started all of this and started taking social media serious. It was always because I knew that there was like a deeper purpose. It was like
absolutely
2020, I was doing IG lives with different friends.
Absolutely.
And this was the Empowered Era podcast. Different people in my network, different people I'm meeting. And now it's like, okay, I want to shed light, bring different people on, have them share their testimony, because I know I've grown so much. I've become the person that I am because of the conversations that I've had, because they've been able to see the full play-by-play. And there's only bits and pieces that I actually show online. People think, okay, I show a lot or I show enough. I'm only showing what I want to show, to be honest.
Amen.
So,
amen. I love that.
Thank you.
Good job, sister.
I appreciate that. Okay, so this is the portion of the show where we pass the mic. Okay. And so the previous guests had no idea who you were, what you looked like, none of that. And they had a question, so you're going to answer it, and then you're going to ask the next guest a question, and we're just going to continue it on. So from the last episode, our guest had asked the question of, how do you show up for yourself daily?
I am heavy on working out. And I take the time in the morning to go to the gym. If it means like moving my body with Pilates or going to lift, I try my best to take in at least an hour of just consistently like, what does Chiderah want to do?
Yeah.
Like, how does Chiderah going to move her body? How is Chiderah going to better herself?
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, I look at myself in the mirror and I tell myself, I love me. I try to point out one new thing about myself.
The words of affirmation.
Yeah. I try to point out one new thing about myself that I either like, that has changed for the better, that's changing for the better, and like tell myself I'm enough. So like sometimes, and especially in the morning, I wake up and I put on like some gospel music, and afterwards I look at myself and I'm just like, you look great today. Like actually affirming myself, because it's been a struggle for me over the years, and like I always tried my best to affirm myself through people, and never practiced to actually look at myself and tell myself I'm enough.
I love that.
So actually loving myself in whatever capacity I'm at that day.
I love it. And what question do you have for the next guest?
What journey are you on? Like, what path does God put you on right now? And what do you think you're learning on this path right now?
I love that. Well, let's stay tuned for the next episode.
Stay tuned.
The answers. But thank you so much for coming on. How could the people stay in contact with you and keep up with you?
I have an Instagram, you can see me sometimes. Hit me up on Instagram, Onuoha Chiderah. But other than that, you'll see me around. If you need to contact me, contact Lizzie, and she'll get you in contact with me.
And I'll get you in contact with her.
Anything about tech, anything about work. I really love doing resume reviews or like interview prep. Hit me up. I'll make time. Definitely. You're never a bother. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, yay. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Just sharing and dropping gems, being the person that you are, and then just having that space for us to dialogue and for others to hear our testimony.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I love you loads.
Love you.
Bye, girlie.
Thank you, sister girl.
Bye, guys.
Bye.